So we were talking about some YouTubers that we thought would be good for mainstream film, and AVGN came up, Angry Video Game Nerd, and we talked off camera about a film that we think he would be really good to direct.
Yeah.
And how did you want to do that?
Well,
Did you want to take the reins here?
Yeah. Well, it's actually been 10 years since the AVGN movie came out, the Angry Video Game Nerd movie. Yeah, it's been 10 years. I think it came out like July of 2014.
Right.
So
yeah,
we're closing.
I saw it.
Yeah, we're closing in on it. I mean, you saw it in theaters.
Yes, I did.
Yeah. I didn't. I saw it. I just saw it like afterwards. But yeah, I think he's a good filmmaker. I don't think that movie was necessarily great, but because I think he was reaching farther than his grasp.
Yeah.
But I think he's a good filmmaker. I like what he does. A lot of his videos are very cinematic, and so I think just because it's been 10 years, we were thinking, okay, what would be a great film for him if he was to go for his next film? And
he hasn't made another movie since.
Yeah. So we actually came up with an idea, which was, do you want me to go into it, or you want to go into it?
Let's just go into it, yeah.
Okay. So the idea is, it's a...
Maybe I should go into it.
Yeah, maybe you should do it.
Okay. So we thought that as far as genre goes, horror seemed to kind of be, at least the tone.
Yeah.
The more that we talked about it, I guess that the less horror it seemed. But it was still kind of a horror, but it involved a board game.
Mm-hmm.
And the idea being that his character, AVGN, when he was growing up, played this board game that was alive. Like, the characters were alive.
Yeah.
And he played with his friends, and like they play the good guys, and then there's this horde of bad guys, and they have to like beat the board game in order for like the good guys to stay alive. And his character kind of becomes like his friend, kind of becomes like a good friend to him.
Yeah.
And he ends up losing this character in the board game, sort of sacrificing the character so that they could win the game.
Yeah.
So now he's an adult.
Yes.
And he lives, whatever, his mundane life, a job in a cubicle. Mm-hmm. And is he summoned?
I think some of it wasn't like super ironed out.
Right. Well, the details are just details.
Yeah.
We could always iron those out later.
But I think, but people like the details. That's the thing.
That's true. That's true.
I think
we'll get the details.
Yeah. So I think he has his group of friends. Summer break. They play the board game. His character, who kind of becomes his best friend, dies. Then he's an adult. Then I think the board game comes back to life on its own, because that's just what it does. And now the 2 or 3 characters that his friends had, they're getting killed off because they don't have, the generals basically, which are like the humans playing.
The players.
Yeah.
Right.
They don't have them. So two of the 3 now have been killed off. And the last one ends up getting in contact with him, and maybe it could just be the last one's like a wizard or something like that. And he like is using he's using something, to contact James and be like, we need you,
Yeah.
The horde has risen. And his name is Dum Dum Door. That's the wizard's name.
That's his name.
His name's Dum Dum Door. And the wizard what the wizard does is he ends up using a wand that kills himself. So now he has to debate, like, do I start replaying this game, activate now these characters, because once you put like a character from like the game box, you take them out of the plastic on the board, they come to life. But now there's a chance that you're bringing something to life that's going to die a horrible death in battle.
Right.
As opposed to just leaving it alone.
Right.
So he has to decide like why do I kind of get my family, maybe like now I have children, and I go into this thing with me and my kids, and we play this game that I played as a kid, but they may have to go through the same trauma I went through because I ended up losing my best friend in battle because of the decision I made. I don't think we ever got to the point of like, what is the decision he made? I think you had something that was actually pretty good.
Yeah. Well, what I was thinking was that the horde, the bad guys, like they're kind of just like mindless drones, and they just go towards like whatever's closest to them.
Yeah.
So he makes the decision to put his guy like by himself closer to the horde, while the rest of them go toward the like finish line of the board game. So the horde is going toward this one guy and is just like slowly getting surrounded. So he makes the choice to like basically like sacrifice this character so that they could win the game, and then he just gets like demolished by the army that's like surrounding him. So it was like maybe the right decision so that they could win the game, but also like really traumatizing to see. And also, as far as details go, I don't know if you feel this way, but I feel like the more adorable the the good guys look, the I'm thinking like Kirby from Super Smash Bros. Or from Kirby.
Here's I feel two ways about it.
Okay.
One way I feel about it is that James Rolfe himself is a little bit more horror, heavy metal, kind of Dungeons and Dragons, I think, oriented. So I see it more like that, which is a little bit more on the like Conan the Barbarian style side.
Yeah, H.P. Lovecraft type of villains, maybe.
Yeah, it could like a little bit more dark.
Yeah,
you know.
All right.
So I don't think this movie would be horror. I think it would be horror like Hocus Pocus is horror. Or
it's horror adjacent.
Yeah, it's horror adjacent because it would be something that kids could watch, but it does also still have stuff where you probably wouldn't want a 5-year-old watching it, or
Yeah,
it's a little bit
like,
older,
like Dark Crystal or something.
Yeah, it's kind of like a 10 and up, or if you're a comfortable parent and you know your kid's not gonna have nightmares,
Yeah,
that
or you could be a bad parent.
Yeah, be a bad parent. Leave your kid at home while you go off to France
with all the lights off.
Yeah,
yes.
How much? I think the bad guy should be intelligent.
Okay.
Because then it requires you to be intelligent as a player.
Okay. So you have to be actually be a strategist.
Yeah, and you can still be making decisions that kind of puts your person in the line of fire.
Yeah.
I don't know how much of it should be he's putting his guy in the line of fire knowing his guy's going to get killed. Or how much of it should be how much of it should be he's putting his guy in the line of fire knowing there's a possibility your guy's like a good possibility your guy's going to get killed, but you're kind of holding out hope, but then he ends up getting killed.
Yeah.
Because then you can play that later on where it's like now he's holding back when they're like, no, this is the good move here.
Okay. So then there would have to be I guess MacGuffin would be the right word, but it's depending on the outline the layout of the board.
Yeah.
If there is a like a Hammer of Dawn type of thing that you can get, and so he's going after it.
Yeah.
Then the army would want to stop him before he gets to it.
Yes. Yeah.
And so he is like, this is a huge risk, but I'm holding out hope that I can get there first.
Yeah.
And then that is something that can kind of like come back at the end. That maybe he changes the decision slightly to kind of better suit the theme of the film.
Yeah. Does he change the decision, but that's the wrong decision? Then one of his kids, like his son or his daughter, is then like, no, like trust me.
Yeah. I think
this is the right move. Then he trusts his kid.
Yeah.
And now they're playing the game.
What he does is he makes the same decision, and then his kids are like, we're going to go with you. and we're all going to go after the hammer of dawn.
That's
so they
good.
abandon the like finish line, and it's like, no, like we're going with you because like you get into trouble, all of us will be there.
Yes.
Yes.
That's good. Yeah.
Yeah.
The second way as far as the style of the game goes, I think is because this is just a like idea.
Yeah.
Is if James Rolfe himself was like, oh, that's cool, but I like this style. Then it'd be like, okay, we're going with that style.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Well, changing the style is simple enough.
It's simple, but yeah. But I think that would be.
Can't see me. There we go.
What are you, too dark over there?
That was pretty dark. Yeah.
Sitting in the dark.
My light was way over there.
Yeah. I was born in the darkness.
Yeah. No. Yeah. It's simple enough to change that.
What's his job? Does it matter?
I don't think it matters right now, as long as it's like mundane, and kind of like small. Like the way that I see it is like this dude. When he was a kid, he's dealing with like battle, with war, with life and death.
Yeah.
He grows up and he takes this job that's like mundane, kind of office space.
Yeah.
Like when he has a problem, it's like, like I got coffee on my shirt, and it's like, it's kind of, it gives him a reason to kind of like remember that he doesn't really have it all that bad. Yeah. And it's not the end of the world, because like there are actual like life and death problems that he's dealt with and that he will have to deal with.
Yeah. So,
but yeah.
Does it, well, here's my thing. Does it have an effect on him where he's playing it safe in life? Because maybe he didn't play it safe in the game and learned his lesson? You know? Or learned the wrong lesson from it, basically. Or is it one of those things where he played the game, got that excitement, and now he finds life kind of dull and boring? Because I think the other way, where he's actively choosing to play it a little bit safe, and he actively doesn't want to return to the game, because it was even though he should have seen it as a great experience. You know, like you had this great experience, but he actually, because the death of his best friend, which is that character, I don't know what the name of the character should be. Something interesting, though, you know? Or he's like, my best friend when I was a kid, you know.
More interesting than Dum Dum Door?
Yeah, like... Malin. It's got to be something, you know what I mean? You know what I'm saying? Where someone's like, your best friend's name was, you know...
Right, yeah.
And then he could be like, they're, you know, Romanian, or... they're from Sicily, you know? So it's like got a name that kind of like... Gregorian, you know, when me and Gregorian were hanging out, your best friend's name was Gregorian? Yeah, he's from Sicily, you know?
Yeah.
Like, but so I don't know. I think he should be actively playing it safe.
Yeah, but I agree. I think that's good.
And then while he's playing the game with his family, now he's realizing, no, this was a great experience that you had, and sometimes, you know, it's not your fault that this guy ended up dying. He knew, you know, Gregorian knew what he was getting himself into. Like Gregorian also made the choice at this point, where Gregorian's like, no, like, let's do it. You know? And he's like, you got to remember, like, it wasn't just you, just because you rolled the dice. You know?
Tragedy happens. You know? It's part of life.
But then if he's playing it safe, does he then see his friends, you know, are successful because they had a good experience? And their
because they didn't have to sacrifice their character.
Their characters lived, and they beat the game. And their experience with it was actually a good, positive one.
That's a good kind of like B story, maybe. Oh man. I'm trying to think of like, what was there anything that we're missing? I feel like that's
well, one of the things I think we were talking about was the stakes, because the stakes in the board game is that you can lose your characters and then you lose the game. But you were saying something about
Yeah, no, I was saying that like if there's a character, it could even be a touching moment, an emotional moment, where like the character's dying, and he notices that the army is like bigger, it's larger,
Yeah.
not in numbers but in size, and he asks about it, and he's like, yeah, like if like when they kill us, they get bigger, and if they win, then they can leave. And
Yeah.
so it's gonna like it would be like the army is it's like if they lose the game, then the army is gonna keep playing off of the board,
Yeah.
and like they're gonna be big enough now to like start attacking humans and stuff.
Yeah.
So it's like as far as like the stakes go, there are those. I personally I like the intimate stakes, just generally speaking in movies, but there are those that are gonna be like, oh, so like what? If nothing happens, like it's just a like it doesn't
Yeah.
even matter if they
Yeah.
lose, and it's like
Yeah.
okay, well this makes it matter if they lose. Like this is a guy who has kids in the house, and like if they lose the game, then the villains are gonna leave the board and keep
Yeah.
looking for villains to fight.
Yeah. So yeah, there could be something like funny that happens. Like if the last guy to survive from the original game is like a wizard, and the wizard is casting a like barrier spell, and
Yeah,
that's the reason why. Because he's like, I don't ever remember the guys getting off the board, and the wizard's like, because I was casting a barrier spell.
yeah,
Like
yeah.
once I go, the barrier spell's gone, and now like if no one's there to stop them, they'll flood off of the board.
Okay.
You know?
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, you could have it where they're getting bigger as well, and then actually like finding a way of jumping off the board. But
They're still the same size.
like, little guy, he's just punching his kid in the face with the thing on his the thing on his face. But yeah, I don't
Stabbing
know.
his shoe.
I think that's kind of a idea-wise, style-wise, a perfect movie for someone like James Rolfe to make.
Yeah, yeah. So, I mean, we should also mention, for those of you who aren't aware, Angry Video Game Nerd also had another series called Board James, where it was kind of like board game reviews, but they would often turn into like stories. They would often turn into like kind of more of a cinematic, like there was an actual storyline happening while he was doing his review, and then like it turned into a lot of times a horror like a little horror short film.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was part of what inspired first, like, oh, it should be a board game thing.
Yeah.
And then like that's the kind of tone, that's the kind of feel, like he'd be really good to direct a film like that, and then probably star in it too.
And age-wise, I think it lines up too, because he's a year older than I am, I think. So we're about like the same age. So
Yeah.
you're older, you end up with kids. I don't have kids, but he ends up with kids, and so he's got that life experience, the family life experience, and probably introducing his kids to the things that he enjoyed as a kid.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so so I think it just kind of ties in real well with his life experiences.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, yeah. No, if it I mean, if it were something that he were interested in, and he's like, that actually sounds like a cool idea that I want to direct. I mean, we could write it. You know, like coming up with this like foundation of like, all right, we have some beats, we have the tone, we have the characters. Like that's like getting that structure in place is like basically what we do on this show. But then like we if we like the idea, then we'll go and write it afterward. So, like we write scripts. That's what we do. So yeah, I mean, if that was something that he caught wind of and was interested in, and it's like, we'll write it. Like, let's do it.
Because we spent I think we spent about 20 minutes talking about it, kind of being like, hey, what would be a cool idea? We first were talking about horror, like a horror film for like a good 5 minutes before we were like, that's not, we were
talking like
working.
Sam Raimi type of like, horror, maybe horror comedy, kind of like Drag Me to Hell.
Yeah.
And then we started kind of shifting more toward like the psychological Dark Crystal
Yeah. Yeah. We went a little bit more.
Labyrinth.
Yeah.
But yeah, the board game film that we came up with. So that was kind of cool.
But yeah, that's the basic idea of it right there.
Yeah, yeah, that's the basic structure, basic foundation. Where like that's a launch pad, you know.
Yeah.
It's like you need that in place so that you can actually launch your script. You can actually start writing it.